Donald Trump has ruled out sending US troops to Ukraine as part of any security guarantee following talks at the White House yesterday with Vladimir Zelenskyy and European leaders. He said that Western allies wanted to put boots on the ground, while US support could come in the form of air power. Speaking to Fox News earlier, Trump said he hopes Putin is going to be good. If not, he said it's going to be a rough situation. Well, let's get more on this. Our US correspondent James Matthews joins us now from DC. James, great to have you with us. So Trump called in to Fox and Friends and had plenty to say.
Yeah, hi, Kamali. He shed some light on his thinking on the back of yesterday's meeting and, of course, that call to Vladimir Putin. It will trouble, I think, the people who were around the White House table yesterday, this business of rough situation. He said, I hope Putin is going to be good. If he's not, it's going to be a rough situation. He didn't expand on who it was going to be a rough situation for or whether it was just going to be a rough situation generally. But that would appear to me to indicate a man who doesn't know the mind of Vladimir Putin, despite the meeting in Alaska, despite this call yesterday. We're going to find out, he said, about Putin in the next couple of weeks. No indication from Donald Trump that this meeting, this planned meeting, is going ahead between Zelenskyy and Putin, and thereafter this trilateral involving Donald Trump himself. That will be a concern too. At one stage yesterday, it almost seemed, in terms of the language used, it seemed to be that this meeting was almost confirmed by both Moscow and Kyiv, but that's clearly far from the case, and we await the answer from Vladimir Putin. So still uncertainty there. Where there is certainty is on Donald Trump's planning for a security guarantee. That will not involve US troops on the ground. He said there wouldn't be any US boots on the ground. You have my assurance. He did say that Europe is willing to put troops into Ukraine, to put people on the ground. So that's interesting. That illuminates the kind of thinking in European capitals about the look and shape of this security guarantee for Ukraine. Donald Trump said, it was a wide-ranging interview, Kamali, some 20 minutes or so. Ukraine's going to get a lot of land, he said. Didn't get specific on the geography or amount of land on that one. He said, I don't want to waste time. I just want to end this war. He said he always thought that Ukraine was a buffer between Russia and Europe. That will hearten those in European capitals who would have been desperately trying to reinforce in Donald Trump's mind the danger beyond Ukraine of Russia's territorial ambitions. That's a message they've been trying to ram home. It's not just Ukraine we're talking about, it's the rest of us. And Donald Trump seems to have heard that message. And in terms of his call with Putin, he said he had a very good call with Putin after that meeting with European leaders. I didn't do it in front of them, he said. I thought that would have been disrespectful. Putin wouldn't talk to the people of Europe, said Donald Trump.
OK, James, for now in DC, thank you for that update. Well, here the Prime Minister has co-chaired a meeting of the Coalition of the Willing alongside the French President Emmanuel Macron. Number 10 says that members will meet with their US counterparts in the coming days. Well, our political correspondent Rob Powell is here with us. So, Rob, we've got some more detail about what was said in that meeting just the day after Sir Keir Starmer was in DC.
Yeah, about an hour-long meeting that took place from about 11:30 this morning. Over 30 international leaders on that virtual meeting from the Coalition of the Willing. So that's essentially this initiative, I guess, that's being chaired by the UK and France to prepare what is sort of variously termed as a reassurance force, a peacekeeping force, essentially some kind of security guarantee to be put in place in the event of hostilities ending in Ukraine, be that a ceasefire or, I guess, where we are right now, a permanent peace deal. So it was a chance for the UK and France to basically update the rest of this grouping on what happened in Washington yesterday. We got a repeat of some of the language that we had from Keir Starmer yesterday, where he talked about the sense of unity in getting peace in Ukraine. But we got indication, as you say, on the next steps as well. Planning teams, Downing Street said, from the Coalition of the Willing would meet with US counterparts in the coming days to work on security guarantees and prepare for any deployments if hostilities end. Separately, we understand that the Chief of Defence Staff's, Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, is travelling to Washington, D.C. this afternoon. We got an indication as well from Downing Street that this grouping still wants to keep up pressure on Vladimir Putin, talk of there being sanctions if Vladimir Putin doesn't take action to end his illegal invasion. So I think Keir Starmer talking up progress yesterday, as you'd expect, and focusing very much on the language around security guarantees, but there's still big uncertainties there. The first is, of course, what role the US plays in all of this. You've just been discussing that with James. President Trump has said no boots on the ground. The UK has been pretty clear it wants the US to be the sort of eventual backstop, security backstop, if there is any deal. The second is, what can the European countries conceivably do? Can we stump up enough military might, if you like, to really make this matter? There have been a lot of commentary around the depleted nature of the military in the UK and around Europe, and whether we've really got enough welly, really, to actually make this count, or whether, frankly, we do depend on the US almost too much to enforce this. And then the third is, look, do we ever reach a point where any of this is actually kicked into action? There's a long way to go before then in terms of the three-way meeting between Putin, Zelenskyy and Trump, and whether we actually get to a place where this force, this mooted force, is actually mobilised. But I think part of the point of that is putting the practical bits in place. Yeah. The other part is keeping up the pressure on Russia and also showing solidarity with Ukraine. So I think that's why, yes, this was made more relevant practically by what happened in Washington yesterday, but diplomatically it's important as well, because it's Europe and Canada, of course, showing that it's standing behind Ukraine and wanting to keep up pressure on Russia.
Yeah, got to be seen to be ready. All right, Rob, really appreciate that. Thank you for now. Well, the leader of the Lib Dems, Sir Ed Davey, has expressed concern about what he says is the direction the Prime Minister is taking.
I really fear that Trump just wants to do a deal with Putin, and he's not really bothered about the real interests of Ukraine, or indeed the security of Europe, and including the UK. So I think we need to try to work for peace. Of course we should, but we should be behind Ukraine and President Zelenskyy and helping to strengthen his negotiating hand by saying we're prepared to support his military effort even more. Of course, the Americans have a really important role to play, and I just hope that President Trump will deliver what we need, both for Ukraine and for European peace. But excuse me for being sceptical about how he's gone about this, in the way he seems to be way too friendly to Vladimir Putin, rolling out the red carpet with someone who's a war criminal.